Defense is one of the most criminally underrated aspects of the game of basketball. I mean, it's literally half of the game. Everyone's head is always wrapped up on who can score the most points, who can pass, who can dribble the ball well, but very few people take the time to really talk about the defensive side of the game. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing today, because in this video series, I'm going to be showcasing who I believe are the 10 greatest defenders in NBA history, in no specific order. And in today's video, we're going to discuss why Hakeem Olajuwon is the greatest defender of all time.
And a block by Hakeem, he got all the way back. Olajuwon blocks it away. Goes to KJ and Olajuwon blocks it into the board. Olajuwon just set the record. 3,190 blocks.
Hakeem Olajuwon by many is known as one of the greatest defenders of all time. I mean, the Defensive Player of the Year trophy is literally called the Hakeem Olajuwon trophy, the pinnacle of defense. One of the greatest aspects of defense attributed to his name is his elite rim protection. Hakeem Olajuwon is considered by most to be the greatest shot blocker of all time. He leads the NBA in all-time blocks with a staggering 3,830 total career rejections. That's 541 more blocks than the next highest player, which is Dikembe Mutombo with 3,289. For context, the gap of 541 blocks is about 2 great seasons of defense averaging 3.2 blocks a game, or 3 seasons of averaging 2.1 blocks a game. This record is never going to get broken anytime soon. If you combine Kevin Garnett and Moses Malone's block total over their whole career, 2 really great defenders, it would still fall short in comparison to Hakeem. If you combine Marc Gasol, Dirk Nowitzki, and Shawn Kemp's total blocks, it would still come short of Hakeem. Hakeem in 1990 had one of the best defensive seasons of all time, notching 376 total blocks, averaging more than 4 blocks a game. Hakeem has more career blocks than the Sacramento Kings had during the last 10 seasons. Hakeem in 1990 had more blocks than 13 of the 30 NBA teams in 2023. Hakeem's shot blocking ability was like no other. Olajuwon was a super athletic 7-footer, which helped his rim protecting ability. As you would expect, based off of his explosiveness off the ground, his length, and his elite timing helped extraordinarily. But another slept on ability this man had was his agility. When people think of Hakeem's defense, they think of erasing shots at the rim, but Hakeem, in his prime, was a very quick and agile defender. This helped him to be a more versatile defender. He could pretty much guard anyone in the world in his prime. It didn't matter how big, athletic, or quick you were. Hakeem had the quickness, athleticism, and length to guard anyone. The quickness that Hakeem had also helped him to rack up a boatload of steals as a center. Another underrated aspect of Hakeem's game is his basketball IQ. I mean, Hakeem would constantly make the right decisions on the defensive end to help his team. He studied his opponent's moves and tendencies, which helped a lot to get the Rockets a massive amount of stops. Hakeem is the only player in NBA history to have a season with 200 plus blocks and 200 plus steals. Hakeem is one of 3 players to have a season with 200 plus steals and 150 plus blocks in a season. Can you guess who the other 2 players are? It's Michael Jordan in both 1987 and 88 and Scottie Pippen in 1995. But what about the opposite? What players have put up 200 plus blocks and 150 plus steals in a single season? Well, that would be David Robinson in 1992, Andrea Karolinko in 2004, and Hakeem Olajuwon in 4 separate seasons in 1988, 89, 90, and 93. Hakeem Olajuwon is ranked 10th all time in steals. Do you know who the next center is on this list? Oh, maybe it's just a little bit below him, you know. No, it's David Robinson at 64th all time. 64th. No center even comes close to Hakeem's ability to get steals. Not only just steals and blocks, but this man got many defensive rebounds for his team. I mean, he was one of the best rebounders of his day, and even all time, despite doing everything else on the floor. This man was on another planet in terms of racking up these defensive stats. Speaking of that, another category that Hakeem dominates is defensive win shares. Olajuwon led the league in defensive win shares for 4 straight seasons from 1987 to 1990, and is 4th all time with 94.47 defensive win shares players, only behind Kareem, Timmy D, and Bill Russell. Olajuwon has 9 all-defensive selections, who is the 6th highest player all-time in this category. He also won back-to-back Defensive Player of the Years in 1993 and 94. Olajuwon is the only player to ever win Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, and Finals MVP all in the same season. Truly astonishing. Hakeem might also have the greatest back-to-back championship run in NBA history. The Rockets won the NBA Finals in both 1994 and 95, aka the 2 years Jordan retired from the league. But anyways, what many fans don't know about this is how difficult these 2 championships were. In 1994, the Rockets had a pretty solid regular season with a record of 58-26, which got them the 2 seed. I seriously challenge you to name one other player on that team. For most of you who probably couldn't, that's exactly my point. Hakeem really was the team. The supporting cast around Hakeem was Otis Thorpe, who was the Rockets' next best player, Vernon Maxwell, Robert Horry, and Kenny the Jet Smith. Despite having Hakeem, who was an absolute force on offense, this team only ranked 15th of 27 in terms of offensive rating. Pretty much no help around him. In terms of defense, Hakeem, as you expect by now, led the Rockets in both steals and blocks. And as a matter of fact, he led the Rockets in the 5 major stats: points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals. Anyways, back to defense. Hakeem had some decent perimeter defenders around him like Robert Horry, Kenny Smith, and Sam Cassell, who averaged a steal or more in the playoffs. But the interior defense was entirely carried by Hakeem. He averaged 4 blocks a game during the playoffs, and no one else even managed to surpass 1 block a game. And the next year, in 1995, the Rockets literally won the NBA Finals as the 6th seed. No other team has ever won the finals with that low of a seed. But in 1995, the Rockets added a 32-year-old Clyde Drexler to pair up with an also 32-year-old Hakeem. Olajuwon, as you would expect, carried this team on defense, averaging a combined 4 steals and blocks a game. Clyde Drexler was still a decent perimeter player at the time, averaging 1.5 steals, but that was really it. The Rockets dipped from number 2 in 94 to number 12 in 95 in defense. And finally, I want to end this video with something really interesting that Stephen A. Smith said about Hakeem. It really shows how truly great this man is.
Here's the greatest compliment I believe no one has ever really said it about Olajuwon, but it's the absolute truth, Kenny. He was drafted before Michael Jordan. And no one blinks. We know who was number 2. It was Sam Bowie. When you think about the fact that Portland passed up on Jordan, some people felt that, everybody that was associated with the Portland Trailblazers should have been fired twice because they passed up on Jordan. No one uttered an insulting syllable towards the Houston Rockets for grabbing Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon from Phi Slamma Jamma at North Carolina State. No one has ever said a word because we know how great Olajuwon was. It's the greatest compliment you could say about him.